From a 50-foot snake lunging at a helicopter in the Congo to a creepy creature caught on camera deep in rural Texas, and someone or something filmed crawling underneath a bridge like a real-life version of Spider-Man, these are unknown creatures caught on camera that no one can explain. What you're looking at here may not look like much at first glance. It's a snake. I mean, big deal, right? Well, the thing is, this is an aerial photograph taken way up in a helicopter. That snake is said to have been 50 feet long. Back in 1959, Colonel Remy van Leerde, an experienced Belgian World War II fighter pilot, was flying a helicopter over the Congo. As he's flying over the jungle in the Katanga region, he spots something moving down below. He claimed it was a massive snake, and it would have had to be for it to catch his eye way up in a chopper.
Then I was already flying for 25 years, so I have a very good experience of measuring things. And I would say the snake I saw there was close to 50 foot.
The snake had green and brown scales and a head that was apparently 3 feet long and 2 feet wide. You could fit a grown man in its mouth. And as he flew in closer, the snake rose up off the ground about 10 feet into the air like it was trying to strike at the chopper. Van Leerde circled around a few times so someone else on board could snap a photo of it. Of course, skeptics have their doubts, but he stuck to his story up until his death in 1990. But what do you think he saw out there in the jungle? A new species, a leftover from the dinosaur age, or was the whole story a hoax? Let me know what you think in the comments. This next story takes us deep into the heart of Texas, a little rural spot called Dabina out in Fayette County. Michael Demmel captured something really strange on a hunting camera on his property. He has a bunch of these cameras set up, using them to track wildlife like coyotes, bobcats, and raccoons. These motion sensor cameras take about 100 pictures a day, and Michael goes through them every single day. He's been doing this for 10 years, so when he says something looks off, that's really saying something. Well, one night he captured whatever this thing was. He said he thought it was a monkey at first, and to be fair, in the blurry photo it kinda does look like one. Of course, that would still be very, very strange. There are no monkeys just running around in Texas unless one escaped from a zoo, and no, there were no monkey jailbreaks reported. So he shows the image to some friends, tries to get some answers, and the photo eventually hits the local news. Some say the thing looks a lot like a chupacabra, the legendary cryptid that's been blamed for livestock deaths for decades. Others think it has a bit of an alien or skinwalker kind of vibe. Now, the creature's about as big as a medium-sized dog, but the body shape, the face, totally off. Michael said, "In the 10 years I've been reviewing my cameras, I have never encountered anything like it." Even the Texas Parks and Wildlife Department got involved. They looked at the photo but ruled out any normal animal, saying it didn't look like a baby deer or anything they could easily identify. I always liked to imagine Spider-Man was real when I was a kid. Kinda always hoped I'd see him swinging around up there one day. Well, I would have been thrilled to see this next video. This footage was captured at the pedestrian bridge in Kiev, not where you'd be expecting to spot the web slinger, but superheroes do get around. Now clearly this is a person crawling under the bridge, but even so, why? I mean, this is pretty dangerous. That water down below does not look very deep. Unless this person has actual web slinging abilities, if they fall, they're getting hurt or worse. So who is this person? Is it just a thrill seeker? Are they out of their mind? Or is there a chance that this isn't even a person at all and that the camera person caught something otherworldly crawling under that bridge? This piece of footage was uploaded to Reddit by user KeyProposal8529. Some sort of strange creature was peering out at them from the woods. They wrote, "Hello all, I live near the Trail of Tears in Missouri. As I got home one night I saw this thing in the woods by my house. From where it was standing, it has to be tall because there's a ditch right below where it stands. Any ideas? I'm terrified. Yes, I stayed in my car until I got the balls to run inside my house." Now, I have no idea what this thing could be. It's hard to make out, but if the Redditor is telling the truth here, then this is a pretty creepy piece of footage because they pass by this area constantly. I mean, it's right outside their home. They know when something is out of place. A Reddit user out in the Midwest has been spotting a strange creature in their neighborhood. First, they posted these images along with a caption reading, "These are photos taken in the Midwest from an iPhone at night. The cryptid in question randomly appears in the same spot. Once a person begins to approach, it will vanish. It was seen again a few weeks ago and moved at an incredible speed across a few backyards. A local dog will bark at the spot that it appears in, even when it's not there. Trail cams will be set up soon. Please give me some ideas as to what it could be. The Redditor also posted an update with a video attached. This time, we can supposedly hear whatever this strange creature is. They wrote in the description, "We've got a video of the cryptid making what sounds like a scream. My friend was trying to find where it was standing but couldn't see it. Once the video ended, it appeared again in his yard but vanished as he went to get his phone again." Reddit user native_Maraki posted this strange image saying it was captured by her trail camera and that the previous owner's ashes had been spread on the property. She also said they live at the top of a steep hill in the woods and that she didn't recognize the figure as one of her neighbors and doesn't think it's just a strange woman walking around in the middle of the night, although that would be creepy too. In her words though, "I believe it's the ghost of the woman who lived here before." Back in 2023, this trail camera photo out of Florida started making the rounds online. It was taken in Ocala National Forest, right in a hunter's food plot, and whatever showed up in front of that camera is very clearly not a deer. Whatever this thing is, it's bulky and definitely ape-like. Now, yeah, you always jump to it being someone in a suit of some kind, either a hunter in a ghillie suit or someone intentionally pulling off a hoax and dressing up as a Sasquatch. If the latter is true though, it's a pretty convincing costume. It looks like a living animal to me. When you zoom in it, it at least doesn't immediately scream costume. The fur looks dense and natural, and the face, if that even is the face we're looking at, it doesn't have that stiff mask look either. The guy who originally posted it also pointed something out. He thought it looked like the creature might be holding a baby, with its fingers pressed up near what would be the mother's nose or face. Once you notice it, it's hard to unsee, apparently, but I don't really see it myself. Can any of you make that out? Drop your thoughts down in the comments. This photo was taken in Whiteman Hill by a deer camera owned by a woman named Kelly Morgan's brother. And at first glance, it looks like a pale, human-shaped figure standing in front of the camera, glowing against the darker background. Certainly is not an animal. It's upright with what could be the outline of a dress, which is why Morgan believes it might be a ghost. She said the figure stood out immediately when they reviewed the footage, because nothing else in the area had ever triggered the camera like that before. Plus, there's a legend in the area she heard growing up. The story goes that a teenage girl was killed in the area in the late 1800s, possibly around 1882. The details are, of course, fuzzy, mostly passed down by word of mouth, but supposedly she was a young bride who never made it to her wedding day. On top of that, there's a cemetery nearby. So the first thing you notice in this image is, of course, the deer in the foreground. But once your eyes drift past the deer, they lock onto this eerie skeletal thing in the background. It's this odd pale shape, hard to tell where it even starts and ends. The upper part looks more defined, almost like a torso and a head, while the lower half is just sort of melts away like fog. The face, if that's what we're looking at, is the worst part. You can make out what looks like a heavy brow, a wide open mouth, and a hollow, gaunt face. And its head is tilted back like it's screaming into the air. Actually kind of looks like it's mimicking the buck. Maybe it's something mundane, like a reflection in the water or an animal caught at a strange angle, but I don't know. I'm not really seeing a regular animal here. What do you all think though? These trail cam photos have been drifting around the internet since at least 2010, maybe even earlier. No one knows exactly when they were taken, and we don't know for sure where they were taken. That alone already puts them in a sketchy territory. And yeah, there's a real chance this could be a hoax, but if it isn't, then someone's trail camera randomly caught a man dressed as a clown wandering through the woods. The image really blew up years later when it got reused in news stories during the clown sighting craze of summer 2016. A lot of people assumed it came from that time. Turns out it didn't. The photo was actually uploaded way back in 2010 to the Field and Stream Facebook page, which is a hunting and fishing group. So whoever this clown was, he was out there long before the whole 2016 clown thing. And to this day, we still have no idea who this person was. Any superstitious folks in the audience? I'm gonna guess so on a channel like this. You're probably shuddering looking at this image. Crows have had a bad reputation for a long time, and it mostly comes down to how and where people used to see them. Back in the day, crows were common around battlefields, gallows, graveyards. They'd show up after people died, picking at whatever was left behind. So when someone saw a group of crows circling overhead, it often meant something bad had already happened, and the superstition became that if something bad hadn't already happened, well, something was about to. Crows became a warning sign, an omen of death. And they can be creepy birds anyway. They're totally jet black, they're loud, they're quite intelligent, they don't panic easily, they stare, and they remember faces. In parts of Europe and North America, people believed the number of crows you saw could predict the future. 1 meant bad news, 2 meant joy, a whole group could mean death was nearby. And look at all these crows, plus the date on this trail camera, October 31st. Yeah, I know crows are very common on farms, but I'd still probably be looking over my shoulder for a bit after this. This video was uploaded to YouTube by Paranormal Planet, who'd been exploring an ice cave in Hallstatt, Austria. Most of the video is pretty standard touristy type footage of the cave until we get to the end and see whatever this is. That is a pretty freaky looking creature. Now, my first thought was like, I don't know, maybe it's a frog or something, but according to the uploader, this thing was the size of a large man, and they were also standing far enough away that they wouldn't have picked it up in this kind of detail if it was something as small as a frog. So if that's to be believed, then this is a pretty strange piece of footage, and honestly, the more I do look at it, the less frog-like this thing really looks. I mean, frogs don't really articulate like this, and they don't usually chill in ice caves either. And the way it bends its limbs almost looks like how a human would climb, except it's way too long and spindly to be a person. So I don't know what this is. Let me know your thoughts down below. This next video was posted to Facebook by a man named Clay Shiner. He was filming the woods one evening because he spotted something moving just behind the tree line. Turns out it was not a bear. The thing that really struck me about this video is how long this thing's arms are. At first it just looks like, you know, a typical formless black shape hiding in the trees like so many Sasquatch videos you see. But when it steps forward a bit and stretches its arms out to the sides, it's like, damn, those are long, very ape-like, and very creepy. Reddit user Adjacent Gunman posted this image with the caption, "Over a year ago, this picture was taken by a trail cam back on my property. This version has been lightened. It's something holding a dead coyote by the throat, and it stands about 7.5 to 8 feet tall." He also posted an unedited version of the image. He said he based the thing's height off of where its eyes are compared to his cabin. Now, this thing is hard to make out, but there's definitely something there. Could it be a bear standing on its hind legs? Possibly, but the way it's holding its prey, it looks almost humanoid. But I don't know, maybe that's just my wishful thinking. I wholeheartedly want Bigfoot to be real. Uploaded to the YouTube channel Hola Bible in 2011, this video really creeped a lot of people out. The uploader said he'd been hearing some strange sounds coming from the forest behind his home in Oregon. Keep in mind, he lived 6 miles from the nearest city. He went out to investigate with a night vision camera. Well, he didn't get very far before he came across the source of these strange noises. Crouching in some brush was some sort of odd-looking, hairless creature. He zooms into the thing a bit, trying to make out what the hell it is, and then this happens. So it looks like Gollum was lurking around this guy's woods, or an alien, or a rake. It looks like a lot of things, all of them creepy, none of which you'd want skulking around in your backyard. I just hope this dude moved. And finally, I have another piece of Bigfoot footage for you. This video comes out of Russia, and in it, we see some folks filming some woods near their property. They'd spotted something sprinting through the trees, and what they see is pretty shocking. What's really cool about this video is how the thing moves. How many supposed Bigfoot videos do you see where it's just this figure like lumbering through the trees, like a dude in a costume, unsure of their footing? You kind of see them trying to keep their balance. Well, that is not the case here. This thing is sprinting at high speed and leaping across the ground as if it's an animal that is very familiar with its environment. That's why this has become such a well-known clip in the Sasquatch community.
During a 2025 expedition off the coast of Argentina, Schmidt Ocean Institute's ROV Sebastian captured footage of a glass squid at 1,000 meters along the Argentine continental slope. The video shows the squid swimming gracefully with its fins undulating, its transparent body allowing a clear view of its internal structures, including digestive organs and nervous system, while its long tentacles extend forward to sense the environment. This creature, potentially a new variant or undescribed species within the glass squid group, was observed in an area of high biodiversity. Scientists noted that such transparent adaptations helping camouflage against predators in the dimly lit mesopelagic zone. This sighting was part of a broader exploration that identified 28 potential new species, emphasizing the need for further study in underexplored regions like the Argentine basin. Envision spawning a baby version of the ocean's most legendary giant frozen in place as if posing for its first photo. In March 2025, during the ocean census expedition near the South Sandwich Islands in the South Atlantic, researchers from the Nippon Foundation Necton Ocean Census and Schmidt Ocean Institute filmed a 30-centimeter long juvenile colossal squid at a depth of 600 meters using their ROV Sebastian. Initially mistaken for a glass squid by the team, it was identified by experts viewing the live stream, making the first ever video of a live colossal squid in its natural habitat. This discovery occurred amid surveys of volcanic calderas and the South Sandwich Trench, where the team also found a new hydrothermal vents and chemosynthetic communities. The juvenile's presence suggests breeding grounds in these remote, cold waters, and its stillness might indicate a defensive or curious response to the ROV. Scientifically, this advances understanding of colossal squid life cycles, previously known mostly from dead specimens caught in fishing nets or washed ashore. Picture a spherical sponge that looks harmless but acts like a deadly trap, lurking on the seafloor to snag unsuspecting prey. In October 25, as part of the same South Sandwich Islands expedition, the ROV Sebastian documented a new species of carnivorous sponge, dubbed the death ball sponge, at just over 3,600 meters at the Trench North dive site east of Monaco Island. The footage reveals a round ball-like structure covered in tiny protruding hooks that passively capture small crustaceans and other prey drifting in the currents, with the sponge attached to the rocky seafloor amid volcanic terrain. This predatory adaptation is rare among sponges, which typically filter feed. The area featured vibrant coral gardens and evidence of undersea volcanoes, illustrating how extreme environments foster unique evolutionary traits. Researchers highlight that this sponge's hooks dissolve prey externally before absorption, a process adapted to nutrient-scarce deep waters. The high-definition images and video provide the first visual record of this species alive, aiding in taxonomic classification and ecological studies. What happens when a camera reveals a massive jellyfish with arms longer than a school bus, drifting in eternal darkness? In early 2026, an Argentine-led team recorded a rare giant phantom jellyfish in the deep waters between Buenos Aires and Tierra del Fuego, a depths in the midnight zone between 3,300 and 13,100 feet. The footage shows the jelly's bell over 3 feet wide with 4 ribbon-like arms extending up to 33 feet, and this species, first described in 1899, has only about 120 confirmed sightings, making this capture extraordinary. Scientists were surprised by the jelly's presence, noting its role in the food web as both predator and habitat provider. The preserved fishing gear and plastic nearby highlight human impacts even in these depths. Imagine a towering hydroid swaying like an underwater giant, hosting a colony of tiny worms on its surface. In April 2025, NOAA's Okeanos Explorer ROV captured a ginormous solitary hydroid in Hawaii's deep waters during explorations of underwater environments. The footage depicts a large stalk-like structure several feet tall with segmented branches gently moving in the currents and small scale worms attached to its surface, crawling slightly as they interact with the host. This rare sighting amazed the ROV team, who noted its size and the symbiotic relationship with the worms, which may provide cleaning or protection. The hydroid was observed among other bizarre creatures like sea cucumbers with rippling skin, slime stars, and basket stars. Such solitary hydroids are infrequently seen alive, and this encounter contributes to understanding mid-water ecosystems in the Pacific. This was part of an ongoing NOAA livestream allowing real-time public engagement. In 2025, YouTuber Barney Dillerstone lowered a bait-rigged underwater camera to 200 meters on the seafloor of the Bali Sea in Indonesia over 2 nights. The footage from the second night captures an unidentified deepwater ray, known tentatively as stingaree, gliding across the sediment with a flattened body, broad pectoral fins, and a long tail, approaching the bait before moving away. Marine biologists consulted could not identify it, suggesting that it might be a new species or one never recorded in that region. The setup aimed to document nocturnal deep-sea life, and this ray's appearance underscores the Indo-Pacific's unexplored biodiversity. The video shows the creature's cautious behavior, possibly sensing the camera's lights. How startling would it be if a trail camera in a national park snapped a sleek cat-like predator thought to be extinct locally, prowling through the undergrowth of fiery stripes? In Khao Yai National Park, Thailand, in January 2026, a trail camera recorded a sleek, powerful cat with distinct black facial stripes and a build similar to a miniature cougar or larger wildcat. The footage shows the animal moving through dense foliage, its body kept low to the ground in a classic stalking posture, stepping carefully with predatory grace and occasional pauses to scan the surroundings. It is a golden hue in better lit portions of the clip, but appears more shadowy overall due to the canopy, with a long tail flickering and muscular limbs propelling it forward smoothly. Known locally as the fire tiger or Asian golden cat, it was believed locally extinct due to its extreme shyness, nocturnal habits, and habitat pressures. Conservationists were genuinely surprised by the capture, as confirmed sightings are exceptionally rare in recent decades. Initially unidentified when the footage first surfaced in reports, it was later confirmed as this species through expert review, but the video still emphasizes how such animals can remain unknown or surprising due to their scarcity and avoidance of humans. Experts note that camera traps have become crucial for documenting these elusive creatures in dense jungles, and no credible alternative identifications were proposed after analysis. The park's rich biodiversity continues to make it a hotspot for such rediscoveries. Envision trail cam images revealing a dark, lanky bipedal figure with unnaturally long limbs, stooping through the forest like no bear you've ever seen. In a national forest in Pennsylvania in 2007, Rick Jacobs' trail camera captured a series of sequential images of a dark, lanky bipedal creature with thin limbs and a distinctly stooped posture. The photos show the figure with a primate-like torso, elongated arms hanging low, and legs suggesting bipedal locomotion as it moves among trees and underbrush. Its fur appears patchy and thin in places, and the overall build looks emaciated rather than robust like a healthy bear. The creature is centered in the frames across multiple triggers, appearing to forage or simply pass through the area in a deliberate manner. The Pennsylvania Game Commission officially labeled it as a bear suffering from severe mange, which would explain the hair loss and thin appearance, but cryptid researchers and independent analysis point to the skeletal proportions, arm length, and upright stance as evidence of something unidentified, possibly an ape-like being. The images sparked widespread debate online and in media, with no full consensus ever reached. Jacobs had set up the camera for routine wildlife monitoring on his property, and while biologists maintained the mange explanation, the unusual proportions and posture continue to be contested by those studying unexplained phenomena. These trail camera captures remind us that the wilderness still holds secrets waiting to be uncovered, blurring the line between known wildlife and truly mysterious. Whether they turn out to be rare animals, optical illusions, or something more extraordinary, they invite us to keep questioning what might be lurking just beyond the reach of our everyday sight and understanding.
Corinnia Stanhope and her grandfather Bob set up a trail camera near a deer carcass close to her home in Powell River, British Columbia. They were just hoping to see what animals might come by. At first, the camera did exactly that. It caught a bobcat feeding, nothing unusual there, but definitely cool to see. When they checked the camera again the next day though, they saw something far more unsettling than a wild animal. The camera had captured 2 people standing above the dead deer. One of them was mostly naked. They both had long black hair covering their faces. One looked to be a woman wearing a loincloth. The other you could barely make out because the woman is blocking them, but they're definitely wearing pants and boots. In one image, the woman lifts one of the deer's hooves up toward her mouth. Stanhope said she didn't believe her grandfather at first when he told her what was on the camera, so when he showed her, she was pretty disturbed. Nude people roaming the forest in the middle of the night is one thing, but holding up a decaying deer carcass to your mouth, and it's not the safest thing to do. I don't know if she was kissing it, smelling it, or eating it, Stanhope said. Later, Stanhope also remembered that her horses had been acting nervous in that area around the same time, something she hadn't really given much thought to at the time. Reddit user West Coast Trawler shared trail camera footage showing a person walking across their property at 1:47 in the morning. It was around 31 degrees outside. The person wasn't using a flashlight, and the area is known for bears and mountain lions. And a few days later, West Coast Trawler added an update. Not long before the footage was captured, a car had been reported stolen and later found abandoned about 1 to 2 miles from Trawler's property. Someone had photographed a woman leaving the vehicle, posted the image online, and reported it to police. After that, West Coast Trawler spotted the same woman on another trail camera, this time with a man. From what the footage showed, it appeared the woman was hiding out in the area while the man went back and forth, maybe bringing her supplies during the night. About an hour after posting that update, West Coast Trawler said the sheriff had located and arrested the woman. There was no confirmation on whether the man had been caught. This series of trail camera pictures was posted to Reddit by Rosetti. He'd been seeing some weird tracks in his area in southern Kentucky. He also noticed some odd structures had been built out of sticks in the middle of the woods, and a stack of rocks with a bone on top, and he attached a game camera up about 7 feet on a tree, which ended up getting torn down. And that brings us back to these images, which he posted with the heading, "Here are some photos from the trail cam that was ripped down in reference to my last post for all you cryptozoologists to debunk." So I leave it to all of you. Do you think it's a hoax? Is it a black bear? Or did this camera actually happen to capture a genuine Sasquatch? This image is pretty ominous as is, a nude-looking man lurking around someone's rural property in the middle of the night. But it gets worse. This person broke into that home. The image was posted to Reddit by user GhostEVP with the heading, "This person crawled through my grandma's window last weekend." They provided some more info in the comments, saying that the house had fortunately been empty at the time. The next day, a friend stopped by and realized something was wrong. The place had been completely torn apart, with rooms clearly searched through and items thrown around. When they checked the game camera footage, it only captured this single image of the person. As for how the intruder got in, they'd removed the air conditioner from the window, climbed through the opening. After ransacking the house, they disappeared. This next story is pretty outlandish. So back in 2015, alien hunters claimed that a rake-like creature was spotted in Mexico. Filmed near Nuevo Laredo, Mexico, a local rancher went outside after hearing bizarre sounds coming from his roof, only to run into this terrifying, hairless humanoid figure. At the time, there was a lot of talk online surrounding creepy, spindly, hairless creatures like this, with conspiracy theories that people were spotting alien creatures. Some even went as far as to say they were hiding in Central American volcanoes. UFO blogger Scott C. Waring shared his take. Mexico is the most active country in the world for UFO and alien sightings. No one knows why, but we do suspect there are many alien bases below most of Mexico's volcanoes. Around the same time, 4 sightings in Stratfordshire, UK, of these spindly, almost Slenderman-type entities to suggest maybe sleep paralysis was behind at least some of these encounters, saying, quote, "To get so many sightings at roughly the same time is unusual. One theory is that this has nothing to do with the supernatural and eyewitnesses are experiencing sleep paralysis, where individuals' eyes are open but they are still in a state of sleep and therefore unable to move. There are reports of Slenderman seemingly pinning victims down as if sitting on their chest. That could well be down to sleep paralysis." One UK resident described being awoken just before 2 a.m. by an odd scratching noise in their bedroom, saying, "To my astonishment, there was what seemed like a sphere-shaped shadow by the edge of my wardrobe. As I tried to get out of bed and investigate further, the shadow began to stretch toward the ceiling. It was at that point I found myself faced with the most disgusting, horrific creature imaginable. It was about 8 feet tall, had a white face with razor-sharp fangs." But not every encounter could be chalked up to sleep paralysis. One late-night walker in Staffordshire wrote, "While taking a midnight stroll around Castle Ring last Friday morning, I happened to notice a strange figure in the distance. It appeared to rise out of the trees and hover over the path around 100 meters in front of me. It was a pretty clear night. If I were to compare it to anything, I would say it looked like a stereotypical Victorian gentleman. Long black overcoat with a Homburg hat. It had blood-red eyes that shone in the night sky. It also had a mouth full of teeth that seemed to look like razors." Whatever it was, it stopped hovering and descended back into the trees. Needless to say, I did not investigate any further. What exactly are we looking at here? This mystery beast is usually called the Corfu Island creature, or sometimes the Grecian dolphin. First showed up in this unusual photograph taken off the Greek coast in 2015. A tourist from Scotland, Harvey Robertson, snapped the photo near Parga while on a boat excursion with his family. As they drifted through sea caves, he was trying to capture the vibrant green hue of the water. He didn't spot anything unusual in the moment, but while reviewing his photos later, he noticed that he'd captured the mysterious creature. Robertson described it as looking somewhat like a deformed manatee. Naturally, a lot of skeptics wrote the whole thing off as fake. Others think it might be a genuine living animal, possibly even an Ambliocetus, an extinct amphibious relative of modern whales. Next on the list is the infamous Montauk monster. So back in July 2008, this insanely creepy creature washed up on a beach in Montauk, New York, and completely broke the internet. Nobody had any clue what they were looking at. The thing was totally hairless, super bloated, and had these sharp teeth, nasty claws, and a weird beak-looking snout. Once pictures hit the web, people went nuts with their theories. Some swore it was just a rotted-out raccoon, others thought maybe a sea turtle without its shell, or even some exotic pet that got loose. A lot of people also wondered if it was just a fake prop or a prank, but even animal experts couldn't agree on what it actually was, and to this day, there's never been a definitive answer. Now, if you've frequented the channel before, you're probably familiar with the Fresno Nightcrawler case. If you're new around here, let me explain. In 2007, a homeowner in Fresno, California, noticed something unusual on his security camera. Two strange white figures slowly wandered across his front yard in the middle of the night. The larger one looks almost like a pair of walking legs, no visible arms, torso, or head. The smaller figure appears to follow behind it before both disappear into the darkness. The homeowner couldn't explain what he'd captured, and neither could anyone else. The footage was eventually analyzed by paranormal investigators, but no evidence of editing or CGI was ever found. And then in 2011, another security camera in Yosemite National Park appeared to capture similar creatures walking through the woods. Now, skeptics have said everything from maybe it's a puppet to someone wearing stilts and a sheet, but no one's managed to quite recreate the movement convincingly. And to this day, the Fresno Nightcrawler videos are still some of the strangest pieces of alleged cryptid footage ever recorded. Back in 2015, grave robbers in Nazca, Peru dug up a bizarre set of three-fingered mummies. The story went viral around 2017 when researchers introduced the world to Maria, a mummy with an elongated skull, and even stranger, only 3 digits on each hand. Former Colorado prosecutor and defense attorney Joshua McDowell flew out to examine Maria alongside a team of U.S. forensic experts. His team included a Denver City coroner, a forensic anthropologist, and his father, Dr. John McDowell, a forensic odontologist who helped identify remains after September 11th. So they all knew their stuff, and they noticed some really strange details. Looking at the hands and feet, they expected standard human skin ridges. Instead, they were just straight lines. These were not traditional human fingerprint patterns, Joshua McDowell said. We did not see any loops or whorls in the prints of the fingers or on the toes. I'm a former prosecutor. I'm a criminal defense attorney. I've seen lots of fingerprints, and these were not classic fingerprints, end quote. Peruvian officials immediately denied any extraterrestrial claims, though. Forensic archaeologists tested some of these smaller specimens and said they'd been put together with ancient bones, animal parts, paper, and glue. Historians also pointed out that ancient Peruvian cultures used to bind infants' heads to stretch their skulls, which could explain the weird head shape. Still, other researchers argued that Maria doesn't fit the handmade doll explanation. Looking at scans that appear to show a complete skeleton and DNA tests that reportedly came back with non-human matches. An urban explorer going by Urbex Hill on YouTube hiked way out into the woods to check out this massive 10-mile underground tunnel system. He spent practically the whole day wandering around down there, but he kept saying the vibe was just totally off. The place was dead quiet, aside from the rushing water, but he couldn't shake the feeling that someone was watching him the entire time. And it turned out he wasn't just being paranoid. Near a particularly dark section of the tunnel, he shined his light around the corner, and that's when he spotted them. Two pairs of glowing yellow eyes poked out, and then they darted back behind the corner with inhuman speed. Now this is a really weird one. Footage comes from Reddit user strong_literature505, who captured a strange orb in his backyard that caused his shed door to open. Take a look at this. So this tiny orb zips down from the sky at high speed, flies straight into the shed, and as soon as it hits, the door violently swings open. Very odd indeed. And in case you're wondering how secure the door is, the uploader wrote in the description, "Caught on my home CCTV. The hook that keeps both doors together is lightly rusted and doesn't open easily." Interesting thing to note as well, there doesn't seem to be a whole lot of wind. You see a bit of a breeze blowing the bushes, but nothing that would cause a closed door to swing open like that. So what the hell was that orb? Some sort of creature? Something on the paranormal side? Is there a more rational explanation? Share your thoughts down below. This clip comes out of Vermont from a YouTuber named Ken's Carpentry. He originally flew his drone up hoping to spot a mother bear and her cubs, but he ended up catching something totally different. He spots a huge shape pushing its way through the thick brush. You can actually hear him chuckle on camera because he's just totally thrown off by whatever he's looking at. He loops the drone back around to track it and catches the thing stepping out from under the trees, following it across the open ground until it slips back into the woods. Definitely looks like a massive hairy ape thing walking around upright, but obviously with any of these Sasquatch videos, you always have to ask if it's just a guy in a suit. If this guy wasn't hoaxing though, and just happened to come across this, he captured some pretty incredible footage. What you're looking at here is a compilation of footage captured by a man named Chief AJ of supposed Thunderbirds. He captured the footage way back in the summer of 1977. His real name was John Huffer, and he worked as a combat photographer before turning his attention to reports of giant birds being seen around southern Illinois. There was a fair amount of interest in the sightings because of a well-known report at the time called the Marlin Low Incident, where two boys claimed an enormous bird swooped down and lifted one of them off the ground before dropping him. Huffer later said he'd been hired by a CBS television affiliate to investigate the reports. And while searching the area with his camera, he noticed two huge dark birds circling overhead. He quickly started filming and managed to capture several seconds before they disappeared into the distance. The footage is grainy, but you can clearly make out large birds soaring through the sky. The most common explanation is that the film shows turkey vultures. They live all over southern Illinois, and without a good point of reference, it's easy for large birds to seem absolutely enormous on camera. Some people think they could have been bald eagles as well, but that hasn't ended the debate. Huffer spent years working as a photographer, and he knew the wilderness very well, so believers argue he'd have been less likely than the average person to confuse everyday birds with something else. Over the years, the footage has shown up in several cryptid documentaries though, including Monster Quest, introducing it to a whole new audience. Nearly 50 years later, nobody's been able to 100% say what Huffer really filmed. It's still considered some of the best known pieces of alleged Thunderbird footage ever recorded. Back in 2018, this cryptid investigator named Jonathan Downs dropped a pretty crazy video. So a group of dirt bikers were riding along a trail in Sumatra when this very short person, possibly, suddenly popped out and sprinted down the track right in front of them. The bikers tried to chase it down, but the thing was just too fast. It bolted and vanished straight into the thick bushes on the side of the path. Downs was pretty much 100% sure it was an orang pendek, which is this local legend in Sumatra that literally translates to short person. People over there have been seeing them for over a century, describing them as a little upright walking ape men living up in the mountains. He said, if I were going to put a probability on the existence of it, I would say 99%. We know so much about it. We've heard them. We've got footprints. And in 2009, 2 people actually saw one. Downs' theory was that it wasn't a monster at all, but basically a kind of species of orangutan that adapted to walk on 2 legs in the ground instead of swinging through the trees. So a couple years ago in mid-October, a woman named Barb and her hiking partner were out in Vancouver Island, deep in the backcountry. It was the middle of the week, miles from any real civilization, and they hadn't seen another soul all day until they spotted someone. At least they thought it was a someone, lurking about 100 feet away up a hill. There was this strange figure watching them intently. They had bear spray with them, but the figure didn't approach. It just stood there, scowling down at them. They stood there staring at each other for a couple minutes, trying to figure out what on earth they were looking at, but they got absolutely no reaction. Barb grabbed her phone, her hands were kind of shaking at this point, and she snapped a picture. When the figure finally turned to move away, she noticed it was ridiculously tall, covered in hair. Needless to say, they didn't hang around to ask any questions. They turned right around and hiked out in the opposite direction. Sure, given it was October, maybe someone was doing a Halloween prank, wearing a super elaborate costume, but miles into the middle of nowhere, wilderness, and a random weekday, it seems like a pretty weird place to pull a prank. Even now, when Barb thinks about the hike, it still creeps her out.
Picture an adorable pink fish with bumpy skin and smiling faces, thriving where pressure could crush a submarine. In late 2025, researchers using Mbari submersible captured 3 new snailfish species, including the bumpy snailfish in the Pacific Ocean's depths. The footage shows small pink creatures with bumpy textures, large eyes, feathery fins, and mouths curved upwards like smiles. These fish adapt to extreme pressures with gelatinous bodies lacking scales. Scientists describe them as having friendly appearances and beautiful colors, aiding in public outreach. This adds to over 300 known snailfish species, many deep-sea dwellers. Envision alien-like communities of worms and shells pulsating in the ocean's deepest trenches, defying lightless extremes. In 2025, ocean researchers filmed chemosynthesis-based communities in the Kuril-Kamchatka Aleutian trenches at depths up to 9,533 meters. The footage captures dense clusters of tube worms protruding from the sediment, bivalve mollusks in thick mats, spiky white creatures, and microbial films, all thriving on hydrogen sulfide and methane from the seafloor seeps. These hadal zone ecosystems, deeper than ever recorded for such communities, show life independent of sunlight via chemical energy. Specific sites include Clam Bed at 5,743 meters with bivalve clusters. The first of its kind video reveals flourishing biodiversity in extreme pressures, temperatures near freezing, and toxicity challenging assumptions about life's limits. What looks like a shimmering rainbow worm slithering across the bottom but hides a predatory secret. In 2024, Schmidt Ocean Institute's ROV Sebastian filmed a psychedelic marine worm during the Chile Margin expedition off Chile's coast. The footage shows the worm crawling on the seafloor near seeps and vents, and its body iridescent with colors shifting under lights, segmented form undulating as it moves. This potentially new species was part of sightings including crab migrations and squid broods, highlighting active geological areas fostering unique adaptations. The worm's shimmer may aid in camouflage or signaling. Scientifically, it demonstrates the ocean's untapped diversity, with expeditions revealing life around methane sources. Imagine a mother octopus curled protectively around her eggs, hidden in a canyon deeper than the Grand Canyon. In July 2025, during the first high-tech exploration of Argentina's Mar del Plata Canyon, ROV Sebastian captured a brooding mother octopus at depths over 1,000 meters. The footage depicts the octopus sheltering behind corals, her arms wrapped around a cluster of eggs attached to the substrate, her body gently ventilating them with water currents. The canyon, nearly twice as deep as the Grand Canyon at over 3,500 meters, revealed coral fields and mushroom corals. The octopus's behavior illustrates parental care in deep-sea isolation, where low temperatures prolong development. This discovery inspires conservation efforts for Argentine waters.
This video was taken by a fishing guide in Saskatchewan who spotted this massive wolf near his lodge. And I mean prehistorically massive, as if you need me to tell you that. Just look at it. The man spotted it from his window and decided to grab his camera. He stepped outside to get a better shot, and the wolf backed off. But then it came back, and that's when his dog Trigger decided to chase after the thing. Waited for Trigger to turn her back, and in a blink grabbed her by the hindquarters and tossed her in the air like a rag doll. That happens off camera because the guy rightly stopped filming and, went to save his dog. Luckily, the guy's buddy came out running with a shotgun, firing it into the air to break up the fight, and the wolf ran off. But not for long. It was bold enough to come back a couple more times. Luckily, there's no more trouble and the dog was okay aside from a few cuts. But things would have gone way worse if they hadn't scared the thing off in time. So this next clip comes from a Reddit user with the unforgettable name Panty Dinner 2003. The clip was captured in Louisiana. It starts off pretty normal. A couple guys are filming a field, catching some deer in the shot, along with a few dark shapes that look like dogs. So far, all good, but there's something that steps out of the trees, and it is not normal. This thing comes charging out of the woods, and it kind of looks like it's galloping, but it's definitely not a horse, and it sure isn't human either. It's got these long, creepy arms and seems to be running on all fours, but not in the way your typical four-legged animals do. This thing is off. Now, at first, I wasn't totally buying the laughter behind the camera, gotta be honest. I thought, all right, maybe this is staged, but I don't know. It could also be that nervous laughter, the kind people do when they're freaked out and just don't know how to process what they're seeing. What do you think? Weird animal? Skinwalker? Let me know which theory you're going with down in the comments. This next video comes out of Mexico. Two men came out to their back porch to find an owl acting very strangely. So strangely, in fact, they started to wonder if it was a shape-shifting witch or a bruja. A bruja is usually seen as a woman who uses magic, sometimes for good, sometimes for darker stuff. Some are said to cast curses and shapeshift. They show up a lot in ghost stories and creepy legends, especially in rural areas in Mexico. In some tales, a bruja might appear as an old woman, a mysterious animal, or a shadowy figure flying through the night. Now, the guys filming were kind of jokingly talking to this owl, asking if it was a bruja, but man, if the sun was down and you were alone and you saw this, I don't think you'd be asking that question in jest. I just do not like how this owl is moving, the way it starts stretching out its neck like that. Just no. Is it a scared or injured owl, or could there be something else going on here? This video was uploaded to TikTok by Jay Hayson, who simply wrote that these girls broke into his backyard and were watching him. Seems to me they were doing a lot more than just watching. One tells him to come out here, let's have fun. The other just cranes her net back, makes all these very unsettling faces, mostly just by opening her mouth all wide. And yeah, seems like a great idea to go out there. Now, if this video is genuine, for one, it's very creepy. Those ladies were clearly not of sound mind at the time. And two, this was a very, very bad idea on the girls' part. Don't break into people's backyards and stare at them. At best, you've scared a stranger in their own home. Worst case scenario, you get shot at and you die, especially if you're in America. Doesn't matter if this one's a guy in a costume or some kind of prank. This is the kind of thing that would make me pack up my whole life and move to a different country. The video was posted to TikTok by Fast Bites Horror, and according to the description, a traveler had stumbled across this freaky creature hiding in the shadows, perched up on a ledge, just glaring down at him. And the poor guy is so scared, he starts praying out loud. You can hear the fear in his voice. And while I may not be religious myself, if I saw this thing, I definitely would be. I'd be like, well, I guess Satan really does exist. This dashcam footage captured something really massive peering out at this truck driver. Take a look. See if you can spot it. Do you see it in the headlights as he turns the corner there? It's hard to notice at first. That's why the trucker didn't react at the time. It wasn't until later that a commenter pointed it out. A large, dark figure lurking in the trees. And I'm not sure if it was standing on a hill, but if not, the thing is incredibly tall. This is a freaky one for sure. The idea of some massive, hairy humanoid stalking the forest right around your property at night, not a fan. This security footage comes from 2021 at an old factory facility on the Russian border with Siberia. Seems that two mysterious beings were picked up by a UFO. It happens pretty fast, so let's take another look in slow motion. Now, that is pretty bizarre. I guess technically it's not a UFO. You see two figures, they're standing in this field when a light zips by and seems to whisk them off into the sky. Can't say I've ever seen anything like that before outside of an alien invasion movie. This next video comes out of South Carolina, originally posted to Reddit by Eastern_election_543. He came outside one night to investigate snapping sounds coming from the large trees in his backyard. He said it sounded like gorillas fighting, breaking off huge sections of the tree, in his own words.
I hope you can hear this. It sounds like gorillas fighting in the tree. They're breaking limbs bigger around than me.
So he walked to the back of the house and shone a flashlight up at the tree. Yeah, so something was definitely up there, only he couldn't actually see it. This was apparently the second time this happened, too.
This is the second time I've come over here. And the first time when I got up under them trying to figure out what it was, they started breaking limbs off and throwing them at me.
He also said that the pieces of the tree coming down would have taken him like 2 minutes to saw through. So whatever was up there, it was big. And that is not even the craziest part.
Look, that's bigger than me. Look at that, look at that, look at that, look at that, look at that.
And then even more of it comes down.
Something, oh my God, oh my God.
At that point, he decides to just head inside because, as he says,
I don't even think a bear would have a chance in Hades and it doing this. It's something stronger than a bear.
Now, what is actually going on here? Well, I can't say for sure. I mean, could there be someone up there messing around? Sure. But I mean, look how high up they'd have to be. Pretty dangerous, especially at night. And the fact that they're snapping off all these branches without actually being seen, it does make that harder to believe. But what do you all think is going on here? Looking at these images, you probably assume they were taken in some remote jungle. The bright green foliage, and of course the fact that there's an ape-like creature. But no, these images actually come from Sapchutes Regional Park in Quebec, Canada. Back in 1995, a guy was hiking out there, taking regular pictures of the scenery near a waterfall. He didn't notice anything strange while he was on the trail, but when he went through his photos later, he spotted something standing in the background. Crouching in the trees was this tall, dark, upright figure. What makes this photo stick out from your typical Bigfoot shot is the creature's head. Instead of having a flat, ape-like face, it's got a long snout, kind of like a baboon or a massive dog. Some people who've picked the image apart even claim it looks like the thing is holding a smaller animal against its chest. A lot of people who are really into cryptids have said this could have been a gugwe, which is basically supposed to be a baboon-faced, more aggressive cousin of Sasquatch that stalks the deep woods of Canada and the Pacific Northwest. Think of it as an ape-werewolf hybrid almost. It stands over 8 feet tall, completely covered in hair, and it's every bit as mean as it looks. Most Sasquatch-type creatures try to run away or blend into the trees when they spot a human, but the gugwe is said to do the exact opposite. It gets hostile. Witnesses say it stands its ground and growls. But the absolute creepiest part, people also claim can actually mimic human voices, using them to trick you into wandering deeper into the forest. Reports of the creature go way back before the 1900s. What you're looking at here is well, I don't really know what the hell this thing is, and neither does the uploader. Redditor J. Turley85 uploaded the footage, writing, "My wife's coworker went out hunting this past weekend. They apparently took a pack of dogs out with them. While in the mountains, 2 of the dogs ran off. They chased them and found them both ripped apart after some searching. While trying to look for whatever caused it, they found this and recorded it through their scope. I tried to upscale the video for clarity, but this was the best I could get. Anyone know what this could be? The arms look like they have hair coming off it, and they look extremely long and skinny. At first I thought it could be another hunter, but I can't be sure. And yeah, I don't know, it could maybe be a hunter with a sheet over their head for like camouflage or something, but along with the story about all the dogs having been ripped apart, definitely makes whatever this thing is a lot stranger, and I don't like how it moves. What you're looking at here is said to be footage of a creature known as the Lake Van monster, something that's been spotted in this lake in eastern Turkey. The first sighting goes way back to 1889, but it really grabbed headlines between 1995 and 1997 when more and more people started reporting on it. Over 1,000 people claim they've seen it. In 1997, a university assistant named Unal Kozak even filmed what he claimed was the creature, and the footage still stirs up arguments to this day. Some folks swear they see a beak in the footage, others think he just grabbed a clip of a swimming elephant. So if anyone can find a longer clip of a swimming elephant that matches up with this video, something that would have been available in 1997, please share in the comments. Maybe we can solve this together. Until then though, this one is gonna remain a mystery. Alright, this next video is really interesting because people can't really seem to decide if they think it's a creature or some type of unidentified flying object. The clip was posted to YouTube by Montana Mullet Militia, who wrote in the description, "Was out coyote hunting last night and caught this on film. It was super bizarre, 37 degrees outside, white hot mode." So this was captured on a thermal camera. Those little white specks are believed to be coyotes, with their bright colors showing that they're warm compared to their environment. The darker figure or object, first appearing to kind of run, then later seeing to fly, shows up colder than everything else around it, which is why it looks dark in the footage. As for what the hell this thing is, well, your guess is as good as mine. This photo was taken back in 1934 by a Swiss photographer named Balkan. He claimed he saw something strange near a log, some kind of creature that didn't look like anything he'd seen before, so he took a photo of it, and the picture kicked up quite a bit of interest. It even inspired a German magazine to sponsor a full-blown expedition to track down the creature. But like a lot of cryptid hunts, the trip was a bust, and people kinda moved on. But there have still been some strange sightings since. What exactly is this thing? Well, it's known as the Tatzelworm, a legendary beast from alpine folklore. It's said to have been haunting the mountains of Europe for centuries. Descriptions vary, but most say it looks like a chunky, cat-faced reptile, but with no back legs. Sometimes doesn't even have any at all, a bit more snake-like. Sightings have been reported all over the Alps, from Switzerland and Austria to parts of Germany and northern Italy. And it goes by a bunch of different names depending on where you are. Names which I'm gonna pronounce perfectly: Stollenworm, Springworm, and Pratzelworm, just to name a few. Even in modern times, people still claim to see it. So was the Tatzelworm just a tall tale, or did this photographer really capture something strange slithering through the Alps? Alright, this next one, nope, absolutely not. Someone's home security camera picked up what can only be described as pure nightmare fuel. There's this pale, creepy looking creature crouched in the bushes outside their house, just staring off into the distance, looking around. Glowing eyes, long limbs, totally bald. And when it stands up, it's tall, uncomfortably tall. People in the comments have been saying it looks like a Slender Man or a rake. There's also something else going on here. Some viewers pointed out it almost looks like it's wearing a black cloak or something. A cloaked, glowing-eyed rake demon thing. Again, that's a yikes for me. The face is the worst part. It's just blank. There's no mouth, no nose, nothing but those eerie, glowing eyes. If I saw this outside my house, I would be gone. Keep the house. Take the furniture, I don't care. What do you think this thing was, though? An alien, a demon, a hoax? Drop your thoughts down in the comments. Keep your eyes on the bottom of the screen here. Someone, or maybe something, slips its hand into frame. This clip was posted to TikTok by user Lori Wolfelt Official, who wrote, "Never posted this, as it's genuinely hard to believe, and I couldn't be bothered to be called a liar, but it's too mad not to post. When me and my bestie were younger, a hand appeared in this video after her saying, 'Help me, watch my shoulder when I stand back up.' We posted it on Facebook as it was a funny video, and it wasn't till weeks later someone asked, 'What's that hand?' And it sent shivers down my spine. And yeah, as it should. Something about hands, man, just reaching out of nowhere, gives me the chills. What do you think showed up on camera here? Let us know down in the comments. How'd you like to check your ring cam footage and get met with this? A spindly figure hunched on all fours gallops across the yard. And she kept watching to see if it showed up again, and it did. This video comes from Annie Elizabeth 323 on TikTok, who lives in Tennessee. People were throwing out all kinds of theories in the comments, all your standard cryptid takes, a skinwalker, a rake, etc. Some also said it was clearly just a dude. But even if it is just a dude, it begs the question, why? I mean, I don't want to find some random guy in my home security footage crawling around like this either. One commenter named Black Widow shared a pretty creepy story, though, writing, "I saw the exact same thing here in Kentucky, and I was outside walking. My sister had decided she wanted to go on a night walk, and we saw something that looked exactly like that, hunkered down, drinking water from the creek. When it finally saw us, it stood up and looked to be 7 foot tall, pale white. I felt it in my bones, ran for my life. We got back to the house and inside, ran up on the porch. Since that night, my butt never goes outside when it's dark." Not sure where this next video was recorded, but you don't need much context to know that a person walking around with no head is just a little bit odd. This couple was out driving. A little ahead of them was a person walking along the side of the road, but as they passed, the driver turned to his partner and was like, "Did you see that? Did I just see what I think I saw?" He told her that the person walking along the road didn't appear to have a head. And he was just like, "Oh, come on, no way." He probably just caught the person at a weird angle, but he was like, you know what, let's double back just for the hell of it. And so they did. Sure enough, as they passed by, slower this time, it was even more clear. It really didn't look like this person had a head. A lone, headless man on a desolate road. Doesn't get any more classic than that. This video was posted to TikTok by a man named Rob Counts, whose handle is Metaphysical Show. Take a look. Now, a little context. Rob said he often strikes up conversations with folks working the land on a horse stable he sometimes walks by. Being that he's interested in the paranormal, he'll usually end up asking if they've ever seen anything strange on the land. Well, one particular day, he started chatting with a man working in a horse stable who told Rob he'd recently received a very strange video from a friend. His friend had been out with his dog in the nearby woods. The dog started growling at something in the trees. That's when he pulled out his phone and managed to capture this apparition strolling through the forest. He was so shaken up by it that he was outright refusing to go back to those woods.
What if your home security camera caught ethereal, leg-like figures gliding silently across your yard in the dead of night, moving in a way that no known animal could? This incident involves the Fresno Nightcrawler, captured on a homeowner's security camera in Fresno, California back in 2007. The footage shows two small white beings that appear to consist almost entirely of long, spindly legs with minimal torso and no visible arms or distinct heads. They move across the lawn with a small, stilt-like gait that looks fluid and unnatural, as if floating rather than walking on typical joints. The beings are pale and elongated, gliding from one side of the frame to the other without any abrupt motions or visible effort. Similar entities were later recorded in 2011 on high-definition cameras in Yosemite National Park, showing comparable leg-dominated forms moving through wooded areas at night. The original homeowner installed the camera because his dogs were barking persistently at seemingly nothing outside during the early morning hours. Local Native American legends in the region speak of swamp people or similar elusive beings, adding some cultural context, but no concrete identification has ever been made despite widespread analysis. Skeptics have suggested that it could be a hoax using puppets on strings or clever editing, yet the consistent fluid moments in both the Fresno and Yosemite captures challenges simple explanations. Biologists and wildlife experts have not been able to match it to any known species, leaving it as one of the most discussed unexplained camera captures. Imagine baiting a trail camera with a deer carcass, hoping for bear sightings, only to find pale, hunched figures tearing into the remains like something out of a nightmare. In the Canadian woodland in 2023, Karina Stanhope set up a trail camera near a deer carcass to monitor potential bear activity. The resulting image captured two pale, gaunt figures with long, matted black hair crouched over the carcass and actively feeding on it. So the figures appear feral with extremely thin limbs and a hunched posture and skin that looks sickly white under the camera's flash. Their hair hangs in disheveled strands, partially obscuring their faces as they pick at the raw meat with focused intensity. The scene is set in a remote forested area at night, with the figures positioned centrally in the frame, completely ignoring the camera's presence while they consume the carrion. Stanhope had placed the bait expecting a bear or other large predator, but the viral image led to speculation about feral humans living off-grid or something more unusual. The location's extreme isolation makes staging a prank highly unlikely, as accessing the site would require significant effort and knowledge of the terrain. Biologists have proposed that it might be hikers or individuals staging a joke, but the figure's behavior, posture, and the site's remoteness argue against that theory. No animal matches the humanoid shape, hair distribution, and feeding style precisely. The image has been shared widely online for further analysis and discussion. Picture reviewing night vision footage from a zoo enclosure and spotting a four-legged beast with what looks like wings or horns, confusing even the resident wolves. At the Bristol Zoo project in the Bearwood habitat in late 2024, night vision cameras captured a four-legged creature lurking between ancient trees in the bear and wolf enclosure. The footage shows the animal with an unusual silhouette that suggests protruding wings or horns depending on the viewing angle and lighting, moving stealthily through the underbrush in short bursts. Its proportions are off for typical wildlife in the area, with a compact body and shorter neck, and appendages that don't align perfectly with known deer, boar, or other common intruders. The wolves in the enclosure react with visible confusion and agitation, pacing back and forth while staring directly at the intruder and occasionally vocalizing. The creature appears multiple times over several weeks, always during nighttime hours, slinking in and out of frame without ever fully exposing itself for clear identification. Zookeepers were stunned upon reviewing the footage and went public asking for public or expert help in identifying it. Some observers have suggested that it could be a muntjac deer captured at an odd angle or with temporary distortion from the night vision, but the repeated movement patterns and structure don't fully fit that explanation. No expert has definitively identified it to this day, and the zoo's controlled, fenced environments rules out many wildlife intrusion possibilities. The footage highlights how even monitored and secure areas can yield persistent mysteries.
Back in 2014, two guys named Jason Heel and Jason Dunn were convinced they caught Australia's version of Bigfoot, the Yowie, on camera down in South Queensland. They've been hunting for the creature since 2012, searching through national parks all across Queensland and New South Wales. But this time they tried a different tactic: bribery with fruit. They left out a pile of apples on a rock to lure it out. According to them, it worked too. On a Saturday morning, they captured footage of what they claimed was a juvenile Yowie. When they posted the video to YouTube, they pointed out how the figure moved, writing, "We believe it's a young Yowie. Watch how it moves side to side, the way it lifts its head as it looks at the apples on the rock. You can see the eyes shine as it concentrates on the apples." In 2016, another Yowie video caught some traction. The clip, which ended up on the Yowie Hunters YouTube channel, showed this dark, hunched-over figure making its way through a forest in New South Wales. People filming were about 100 meters away from the creature. Around that same time, though, a woman walking through Queensland's Darling Downs had an even closer encounter. She claimed she got within 20 feet of an ape-like creature. She described it as a, quote, muscular 7-foot-tall creature with a head like a gorilla and long arms. She ended up reporting it to Dean Harrison, a well-known investigator with Australian Yowie Research, and told him she tried to get it to turn around but was scared and didn't want to aggravate him. Harrison backed up her story, calling the report credible, saying it had all the classic signs: broad shoulders, deep eye ridges, and practically no neck. According to him, that made 10 separate sightings in Queensland over just 5 years. While most people brushed off Yowies as pure folklore, Harrison and his group are convinced there are actually undiscovered apes out there in the outback. This video was captured by a man named Mark, a 45-year-old land surveyor who spent basically all his time out in the Appalachian foothills, so the woods were pretty much his second home. But on this particular day, he was out working when he got this weird feeling like something was watching him. The forest had gone completely silent, and there was this heavy, nasty smell in the air. He described it as a mix of wet dog, skunk, and copper. He pushed through some thick brush, stopped in his tracks, and looked down, and just 10 feet away, behind some dead branches and vines, well, something was crouching there, staring right back at him. Instead of running, like any normal person would, Mark's brain just turned off, kinda. He pulled out his phone and started recording, and this wasn't some blurry brown smudge half a mile away on a ridge. At 10 feet, it was basically right there in his face. He was looking at this massive ape-like creature covered in dark fur. It had a heavy brow ridge, almost no neck, and ridiculously wide shoulders. You could see its chest rising and falling as it breathed, and its eyes were just locked on his camera. This lasted for about 15 seconds, and then the thing moved. It shoved itself backward into the brush with so much force, Mark could feel the ground shake, snapping thick branches like toothpicks. That was the moment Mark's brain finally kicked back in, and he scrambled out of there. Wildlife guys said Mark was crazy for standing his ground. An animal that size could have easily crushed a guy in a second, but it chose to run away instead, which does fit with a lot of stories about Sasquatch being more of a quiet, elusive creature than a violent monster. Crazy part is Mark didn't post the video on YouTube at first. He just showed it to a couple of researchers, but only to make sure he wasn't losing his mind. This piece of footage was taken by Todd Standing, who's captured some pretty cool Sasquatch footage over the years. If you've seen some of my Bigfoot videos on the channel, you've heard his name before. This is often regarded as one of his most convincing videos. Here, he saw an ape-like creature peeking out from behind a tree root, and he was able to focus in and get some pretty clear footage of its face. It is some pretty solid video. We get a nice clear look at the thing, at least, and this isn't it. Standing also captured these infamous images of a supposed Sasquatch peeking out from behind some branches. And I appreciate the fact that we see actual faces in these instances, much different than your standard supposed Sasquatch footage, which usually just consists of some dark, blurry thing far off in the distance. This final clip comes from a woman named Mandy Mary. She and her family had been seeing dark figures lurking in their back house, so one night Mandy and her son went back there. While she was recording, her son was right behind her and decided to mess with her by flicking the light off. to give her a quick scare, but the second the lights went dark, the camera caught something. As the outdoor light bled through a window frame, a dark shadow figure showed up. Someone or something was in the room with them. When people tried to write it off, saying, oh, it's probably just her son, Mandy shut that down. According to her, he was standing right behind her the entire time, while the figure appeared over in the reflection of the window in the middle of the room, nowhere near where they were standing. And again, Mandy also said weird stuff had been happening constantly around the back house. Shadowy figures were walking back and forth almost every night, constantly triggering her motion sensor lights. And to make matters worse, about a month prior, something shook her door with so much force that her entire hallway rattled. But that has been our video, and I'll catch you, yes, you specifically, in the next one. It's just Steve Irwin. That's my only frame of reference for Australian people. Imagine Steve Irwin doing like a cryptid hunting show. That would have been incredible. It's Bigfoot! Loch Ness Monster, I'm gonna dive right in! He'd be right in that Loch Ness with those things. Anyway,